So the first effect we'll be working on in the Chrono Cross series is the Photon Beam, and it comes in different parts. As you can see right here where I stopped the video, there's this effect when Serge is casting the element, or any character casts an element. So we're gonna be doing this first in this video today. So as you can see, there's energy on the floor, there's swirls going up, some little sparkles, and then the actual whole beam. And if we follow everything as intended, you should end up with a result that looks like what you see here on screen. So as you can see, it's not exactly the same. That's because I thought we could also modernize the effect, give them a better look, considering we have better technology today. Alright, so let's get started. For these tutorials, we'll be using Unity version 2020.3.21 F1. Yeah, in case you don't see it in the Unity hub over here, when you click Add in Installs, all you have to do is click Download Archive, and this will take you to a page where you can see all the versions they have. Yeah, this one over here. But a more recent one, as long as it's in the same year, should still work. So anyway, in the description you should see a link to an archive file called Photon Beam. So you can just open this, close the annoying WinRAR trial pop-up, and extract it somewhere. For me it's gonna be here. And this is basically a project, a Unity project, which contains all the resources that we're gonna need in order to make the VFX from this lesson. Alright, now that the whole thing is extracted, you can come here in Unity, you can click Add. While you're in project, you can click Add. You can navigate to that folder. For me it's over here. You highlight the Photon Beam folder. You don't go into it. Underneath where it says Asset, Library, etc., you don't go in there. You just highlight Photon Beam and then you click Select Folder. Now the project is added over here in Unity Hub, and all you have to do is click on it, and Unity is gonna start up. Could take a few minutes. It's gonna have like the Unity package manager thing, importing files, etc. So for me it's opening on my second monitor. Okay, here it is. So when the project opens, you should see this window over here. In case you don't, this scene. In case you don't see this scene, you should go in the scenes folder and simply open up Photon Beam. And this is where we'll be starting. Alright, so once inside that scene over here, we're gonna start by creating our first particle system. So you can just right click in the hierarchy part of the window over here and go to Effect, Particle System. And if you don't see your effect, or you're not sure where it is, you can see at the top right over here in the transform, whenever you create the particle system, it might get positioned at a weird place. Here. Oh, that's a 3, that's not a 0. Alright, here we go. Okay, make sure you don't have any rotation in here. I don't know why, but for some reason Unity, whenever you create a new effect, applies a -90 rotation, or was it 90? Let's see. Yeah, -90. I don't know why it does that. It's just weird. So anyway, now you have your effect over here. This particular particle system won't be used. I'll just disable everything. It will simply serve as a parent to group all of our underlying different particles. So the first thing I'm gonna do is rename this to PS for particle system. Chrono Cross, and I will call it light element charge. And I like to put a number on everything, 0, 1. Okay, so we have this empty parent over here, and by just right clicking on it you can create another particle system, going to effect and particle system, and we'll call this ground base. So what this particular element will be is alright, the floor. As you can see, the floor underneath here, there's something glowing underneath the character. So this is what we'll be doing. The shape, you can disable shape. Shape is pretty much what dictates where the particles spawn from and in which direction they move based on their start speed over here. We don't need a shape if we need to spawn the particle at one precise location. And we don't need a speed because this effect will be staying in place. Alright, so we've got our ground base, and we're not gonna use a billboard. A billboard, as you can see, is a quad that is always facing the camera. We don't need this. We need something that stays on the floor and something that actually works with the material that I created previously. The mesh that we're gonna use, you should navigate to your, if all your folders are collapsed, you can open them like this. You can navigate to your mesh folder. Make sure to navigate from your project window and not by double clicking in here, because every time you select a folder here you lose what you have opened in your inspector. So navigate your folders by going in the project window over here while keeping your particle system open there. And charge ground is the mesh that we're gonna use. And right now it's trying to face the camera. It's not perfect. Well, it's set to view. If I put it to facing, now it's like perfectly horizontal, but we want it to be local. And the glitch that you see right now is simply because our mesh is so perfectly aligned with the floor that it doesn't know which is on top of which. So I'm just gonna move this up slightly like this, 0.01. Now as you can see, what we had earlier, which was just sort of a sphere, is now distorted that way. And this is because I've created this mesh is sort of like a square that I've rotated on itself to transform into a sphere. Maybe I'm not explaining it right, but as soon as we'll create a material, you'll understand. So in Photon Beam folder, we'll create a material folder, another folder called materials. And over here, create material over here. We'll call it matte VFX and element charge, light element charge ground. And you know what? I'll add Chrono Cross. Underscored light element charge ground 0, 1. I really like to have very descriptive names. Now in the inspector, while you have the material selected, you'll see that right now the shader is the default shader. We're gonna actually use Chrono Cross Master Shader, which is a shader I've created myself using Amplify Shader. And as you see, you can start by applying this material right away. So you can click on ground base and assign this over here. Right now it's black, you don't see anything. This is because our blending type is set to 0, 0. What we want is source alpha and 1 minus source alpha. And as soon as we add some textures in here in main text, you're going to see why we need why we need this mesh and why we need another shader. So let's just go with organic noise 1. And as you can see, you get this cool effect over here that looks like lava. This is because we have a gradient texture over here. What the gradient map does is that whatever is black corresponds to the left of the image, and whatever bits of the pictures are white correspond to, well, the right side, which is also white. And right now our vertical index is set to 0, meaning that it corresponds to the lower row. But if I move it up, as you can see, the color is changing towards what we have on top. It looks weird right now because we need to change a setting in the texture itself. Wait, is it in the texture that we need? No, we don't need to change a setting in the texture. Why is it weird like that? It should be getting transparent actually. Ah, red channel only. That's because it was trying to access an alpha channel which doesn't exist for this texture. And that's not all. Something else is not working properly. Why? Call back. Oh no, that's fine. We just need a second texture, which is the horizontal gradient 1. We place it like this. Now we have this thing over here, and we can put the tiling, the vertical tiling of the texture to 0.5 to make it look like this. And then in main text speed, you have X and Y. Z and W won't change anything. It's just Unity works that way. Whenever you want to set a vector 2, it gives you a vector 4 in the UI, but two of those channels don't do anything. So over here you can change the speed. Now it's going at 0.16. It's going not the right way that we want. So we'll actually put something negative like minus 0.3. So now we have this effect that is going outwards. Oh yeah, the reason that it's so bright and ugly like this is because right now we are emitting 10 of these particles per second. As you can see here, it says particles 50, and they all last for 5 seconds each, which is a long time. Our lifetime, we'll set it to 3 seconds, and instead of using rate over time, we'll just be spawning a single one. So we can put 0 over here. We don't want to spawn one particle over time, we want to spawn a single one, period. So you can click the plus sign over here, which will make you which will enable you to put a burst. What bursts do is that suppose you have 30. Right now it spawns 30 particles in one single shot. But if we had a shape, they would spawn in different locations randomly. But we don't need shape, and we only need one particle. Alright. And then the next thing we can do is we can add. First of all, we'll make sure that the effect is not looping. We can put this to 3 seconds. Okay. And yeah, you might be seeing all modules like this and see that a lot of them are unchecked. I don't like to have this view with everything that I'm not using, so I always hide all the modules, and then you can just click plus and add whatever you need. And right now our particle is just popping into existence and then disappearing just as suddenly. what we'll want to do is use a color over life. So this allows you to control the color over the life of the particle. Pretty self-explanatory. So you can say that it starts with an alpha of 0, and then, I don't know, at 10% of its life it's gonna be fully opaque, and then towards the end we do the same thing, maybe 85, I don't know. Now if we click restart, as you can see, it fades in. If you don't like the orange outline, you can click the small arrow next to Gizmo over here and then disable the selection outline. Yeah, that's much better. Alright, so we already have this first part. Now the next part is gonna be those little energy bubbles that are floating around. So if we rewind a little bit and I click play, they're kind of rotating around the character, it seems, and they're spawning, they're appearing right at the same height that they remain for the entire effect. Like, they're not coming from the ground or anything, they just appear up there. So we'll create a new effect. So you go back on your parent, right click, effect, particle system. We'll call this one energy bubbles. And for the shape of this one, we'll have to use the shape. You can click restart already. As you can see, they're all coming from the base, but in the settings over here, you can emit from base. You can click this and you can put it to volume. Now some of the particles are spawning further ahead in the cone, and we can change that cone into a cylinder by giving it a 0 angle. You know what, I've never tried to put a negative value. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, and then in rotation over here you can put, I guess it's gonna be -90. So now you have the cylinder going up like this. We're gonna make that radius a bit smaller, maybe like that. You know what, I'll just check whatever value I had in the other one, 0.5. Alright, that was pretty close. And for the height, I had a height of 1. Okay, now we already got some kind of bubbles, but this is the Unity default material. It doesn't really allow much control. Like if I give it a color, they still kind of get dark around the edges on the outside. So we're just gonna create another material for this. So let's go to our material folder, right click, create material, we'll call it mat underscore VFX. Ah man, I've got some trouble with those capital A's all the time. VFX Chrono Cross. Did I make a mistake there? Yeah, typo over here. Alright, Chrono Cross energy bubbles 01. Alright. We're gonna keep using the same master shader for everything, by the way. Now we just need to give it the right texture. We already have this radial gradient 1. Put it here, or maybe it's gradient 2. Let me just check in my other project. Oh yeah, I was using the second one, this one. It has a smoother fade out on the edges around. And make sure to check red channel only. And same as the last material. I wish I could give these a default value, but I cannot. You can put it to source alpha and 1 minus source alpha. And then you go here, you assign the material. Alright, now it's the wrong color. If we look here, they have a blue edge. So if we put this to 1, now they look like this, and if we lower that value a bit, I've included in the gradient some bluer tones. we don't have to be exactly the same as in the video. And why did I close it? Should just keep it open. Alright, so they're blue like this. I guess they're pretty close to the color we want. Yeah, 0.9 works. Alright, 0.9, and then we can change the size. Start size maybe 0.2. Oh, that's a bit small. 0.4. Let's look here. Are they all the same size? Yeah, I think they are all the same size, only that some of them are further behind. Or actually, no. This one's pretty close to the wrist. It looks like it's on top of the wrist, actually. Okay, we'll give the bubbles a random size, so you can right click on the arrow next to start size over here. You can put it to random between two constants, and we'll have maybe between 0.25 and 0.4. That looks good. Actually, I have 0.1 and 0.15 in my other project. Yeah, I'll just go like this. No, 0.3, 0.15, 0.4, 0.3. Yeah, that's that's what being a VFX artist is all about. Just setting numbers like this. I don't know why I'm getting this kind of weird effect like this. That is so weird. Is there something that I didn't set up in my material? Nope. Maybe we can put backface calling. What if I set it to 1, 1? Yeah, you know what? Let's leave it to 1, 1, and then make sure to slide this all the way up. Oop. Multiply color with alpha. That's so weird. I still see that square thing. What? I think maybe it's only hiding the grid. I don't know why it's behaving like this. Unity is so weird. Like, I am seeing this. It looks like a bug to me, but in game you wouldn't see the grid anyway. I don't know if we'll have a problem with it later. Well, for now it works, and we'll deal with it if there's a problem later. Okay, so what these things do over here, the blend-in type, 1, 1 makes the material additive, meaning that on top of a black background, it makes things brighter. But if our material back here for the environment was white, it couldn't really make whiter. Well, yeah, you see what it does. It's kind of like in Photoshop when you set your layer to additive, it can only make things brighter. So if you have any trace of black in your material, it's not gonna show up. So putting a material as an additive is a good way to make effects that are based out of light to blend in together properly. So anyway, we'll just get rid of the speed over here. Now our particles are spawning like this. Oh wait, what the hell? Oh, what? Render Q? It's supposed to be at 3000. Is it giving a value of 2000 by default? It is. Okay, that's stupid. Alright. I did not expect this to happen. Alright, so anyway. I guess we'll have to manually put this to 3000 every time. So basically what's happening here is that every time we create a material, it thinks that it's not transparent. Well, in some ways, because Unity has to decide in which order it draws everything. For example, suppose that you have a paper and you're drawing stuff on paper with a normal pen, or a magic pen that can, draw on top of everything. They start by drawing this over here, and then they draw the small details, and those small details, which are the transparency, appear on top. But if this is set to 2000, it doesn't know which is in front anymore. And now it's kind of like drawing the small dots first, and then the geometry here on top, which is why we call it draw order or render queue. So anyway, setting this to 3000 fixes it, and now we're gonna make sure that those little particles are kind of spinning around the character, not too fast, because in here they sort of just move very slightly. And you know what, they don't even look like they're rotating around the character, but I'm guessing that maybe this was what the intention was supposed to be, because I don't know, why would something that spawns in a cylinder just move towards the front? So we're not gonna use the speed that we have in here, because this speed can only go in a direction that is relative to the shape, or if there's no shape, it's just gonna go in the Z direction. So we're gonna use the velocity over lifetime module, which is over here. And over here we've got some cool settings. Like, you can set the velocity for each axis separately. You can set it in local or world space, and you have orbital and offset and radial and whatever those things are. What we're gonna do is put 0.5 in orbital X. So now our particles are rotating around like this. And you know what? Maybe we can put a random value like that. Yeah. Some of them are rotating faster. I like that. It looks pretty cool. And well, in the video, let's go back, let's get play. A lot of them seem to be spawning at the start. Like, if we click restart, you know, there's only one at first, the others appear after, but I would like to have a burst at the start of the effect, so that as soon as the effect starts, it's already filled a bit. Maybe 7. Yeah, 7 isn't so bad. Alright. And as for the lifetime, we will put it, we'll give it a smaller lifetime, maybe between 1 and 0.75. And then let's look at the way that the particles actually appear. They just fade in. See this one that's transparent over here? If I move one frame, can I do this? Is there a skip frame? Maybe if I just press the right arrow? Not even. Anyway, they fade in and they fade out. So same thing as the other, same thing as the ground, I mean. We're gonna give it a color over lifetime over here. Something like this, something like that. Location 50. So now if we click restart, it's not looking quite like in the game. Maybe if we have something like that. You know what? I would like to give them size over life as well. They don't seem to have it, but I would like to make them scale up. Up and down. I'll put this. I'll add a key here. You can just right click and click add key. Then I'm gonna move this down here. Yeah, I like it like that. Alright. And let's see. If we want those energy bubbles to be on sync with the ground over here, the ground is just one particle that lasts for 3 seconds. So after 3 seconds it's gone. But our bubbles, they can emit up to 2 seconds. That means that at 2 seconds there might be a final particle that spawns that will last 1 second, meaning that the effect of those energy bubbles won't be gone before 3 seconds, which actually syncs it with our ground base like this. Alright, and you know what, maybe we can give it an upward speed as well. Random between two constants. What if I put 1? 1 is too much. 0.1, 0.2, 0.5, 0.3. Yeah, between 0 and 0.3. I kind of like this. Alright. And our next element is going to be the ground itself is not finished actually. At the center of the ground there is a glow, like everything is completely white. So we can just create another thing over there. Let's copy our energy bubbles. We'll work from this one. If you want to duplicate, you can right click and click duplicate, or while you have it selected you can press Ctrl plus D. So I will call this ground glow. You know what, I'll actually move it there so that they're together. Alright, so now yeah, you can I'm gonna click show only selected, which allows me to see only this particle system. And in here I can change render alignment view to local, and then I can give it the proper rotation. So I can just click 3D start rotation, find the right number. Yeah, -90 in X. So now the particles are all aligned like this horizontally. And we don't want to have a bunch of them. I'll just put 0 here. I'll spawn a single burst. I don't need a shape, I just want it to be at the base there. I don't need velocity, I want it to stay in place. Our ground base, we have a value of 0.01 in Y. So same thing over here. Now let's increase our size. I'll put it up to, oh wait, that's lifetime. Yeah, lifetime is gonna be 3, just like the other one. And our start size is this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just keep working with that number. And oh yeah, I guess color over life should have the same gradient as the ground over life over here. You can right click on the gradient and click copy, and then you can paste it here so that they have the exact same gradient, color over life. And I don't want the color to get purple on the outside, I want it to get the sort of greenish color that's there. I'm making it greenish because I just don't find it very interesting that this effect is just pure white and no tones of anything else. The Photon Beam itself has some green in it, so I figured that if we want to have some kind of consistency between what elements are, like a color scheme, we should get one. So I got the color scheme from the actual effect that comes afterwards, which is that kind of greenish white tone. Okay, so let's create a new material for this. I'll call this material light. No, I don't need to make it light element, blah blah blah, because it might be used elsewhere anyway. I'll call this material glow. It will be glow 1. And we just need to change that value here, and we just need to also assign the material for us to see any change. There we go. And I guess maybe I could make it bigger. Oh yeah, if it seems to you like nothing is changing, like after a certain value the size doesn't increase, that's because Unity has this feature. I don't really like it. Well, it's a feature that makes particles stay a certain size. Well, it scales down the particles if the camera is too close, so that you don't see, it never occupies too much of the camera. Can be useful as a sort of optimization, but in a case like this, in max particle size, we can just put a very huge value. And now we see why our particle was so small, because we were reaching the limit of that thing. So, oh yeah, a value of 5 was already good enough. Maybe even 4 should be better. And you know what? I feel like the fade in could be even faster. I'll put this to 5%. And I'll keep the same value there. Why is it so slow? What's going on? One particle. Okay. Ah, I still got the size over light. That's what's happening. No size over light. Okay, actually now it's a bit too fast. Move this back to 10%. Alright. Yeah, it has that sort of weird effect where the white part becomes visible a bit too late. Like, what's going on is that when using the gradient over here, the way I built the shader is that if something is not at 100% opacity, it doesn't show the material as being white. It shows it somewhere in between maximum. So what's going on is that as the particle fades, the color also changes based on the transparency. So it's kind of creating a sort of clash. But maybe if I just, yeah, if I change the start color over here, this pretty much gets multiplied with our color over life. So I don't need to go change each of my keys over here, because maximum alpha is, the maximum is whatever I set here. Now let's test it. Yeah, I like it better like this. It doesn't have that weird white popping out effect anymore, while keeping the glow on the ground. Alright, so we've got this over here. Now the next element that we need are those sort of those rising elements over here, which look like swirls of energy. And the way it was made back then, it's not that great looking. I mean, for today's standards, it just looks like a bunch of lines rising up. But I think the intention, and I mean they were limited with technology, but the intention was that this is actually kind of like strings of energy, I could call them, if I could call them, that are kind of rising up. So let's create this element, but we'll make it a bit more smooth than what it was back then. So yeah, right click here as usual, effects, particle system. We'll call this energy swirls. And I've already created a mesh. Well, it's no surprise, I've already created all the sources that we need. It's over here. I called it the charge swirl. If you click on it, you'll see the shape over here. It looks like this kind of wavy thing, which is it also like it's crossed by like an X like this. This is a very common type of geometry, not the whole thing, but crossing elements like this, crossing two planes like this, is something we do a lot in VFX to simulate some volume in an effect. But everything is basically just materials scrolling on top of planes. Volumetric is not quite there in video games. Alright, so if we click restart, we've got our swirls over here. So we have the mesh assigned. Next thing we need is new material. And you know what? Instead of going and assigning the material manually to the right shader and setting our render queue manually, I'll just start working by duplicating existing materials. Actually, our light element charge ground is closer to what we're gonna need. I'm gonna call it light element charge swirls, energy swirls. Anyway, in the VFX, most of everything you do is energy. Could be fire energy. Fire is an energy. Electricity, just plain magic. Anyway, energy swirls. Let's assign our material over here. Now we already have a cool effect actually. As you can see, it fades out towards the bottom already. That's because in the geometry itself, I can bake the transparency, and I did that to avoid the to avoid having to use extra textures and stuff like this. Just give me a second, collecting my thoughts. I'm actually just looking at my already made VFX and copying the material properties. So we're gonna use organic noise 02 for this one, and wait, is it 02? Oh, I thought I created. No, it is 02. Yeah, I'm confusing it with a different effect. Yeah, so we've got 02, and we don't want this to be going outwards like that. So we'll put a 0 in here, or actually maybe just a 0.1. Yeah, that looks good, and a 0.2 over here. So now it's scrolling horizontally across it like that. It's very smooth. And we need to set up a few other things. We have this texture over here. As you can see, well, this is not how we're gonna animate this, but we're gonna be controlling all through the lifetime of the particle. We're gonna be scrolling this texture across it so that it progressively hides it. It's gonna look more sexy, way sexier, you'll see. Actually, let's do everything except for that for now. So I'll just leave the other gradient we had here for now, and we're gonna work on the movement of the particle first. So this is wrong, obviously. For the shape, we don't want a cone. We'll use a circle instead that will be on the ground. I'll give this a rotation. Radius will be something smaller, like 0.4. Okay, this is not what I want. Start speed, I'll just put it to 0 for now actually. And we're gonna give it some random rotations as well. Over here you have the start rotation. If you change the value, it rotates everything in like, well, it's weird right now because it only has a single axis. Well, I think what's going on is it's rotating around all three axes at the same time. If it was a camera facing billboard, you would just rotate it that way or that way around. I hope I'm recording my mouse. I think I am. And yeah, what you want to do is enable 3D start rotation, random between two constant, and our y-axis, which is the up axis, this one, the green one, we want to give a random rotation around that one. And there are too many swirls right now. Okay, so now we have these. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna give it a color over life. Starts transparent, ends transparent. Yeah, we might change this later. We will change this later, but for now, let's go with this. And start size. Start size. I'm just gonna copy whatever value I already had in my other project, which is 0.8, 0.8, 0.6, 1, 0.9, 0.9. All right. And we're gonna go with some size over life as well. We want them to grow like this. It's already not, well, it's not super pretty, but it's already kind of doing a sort of energy swirls effect. We'll check separate axis. So if your curves disappear down here, just double click on this, or okay, I guess a single click works. Okay, so this is our X. Okay, so as you can see, our X-axis is, I want you to look on this particular particle at the back over here. Let me rotate like this. It flattens. The X-axis is this one, so it flattens the swirls over time. Then this one is the Y-axis, which is its height basically, and this one will be making both sides of the energy string get closer if we animate it like that. But I don't like it actually like this. We can say, instead of curve, we can say random between two curves. So I'll just go here, put this back down. Oh, this is annoying. Linear. Yeah, you can click on the point, put it to linear. Just align both curves like this. Oops. Over here, I had sort of something like this. So as you can see, since I have a curve in the form of a balloon, I like to say it, like this, as they reach their final height, they slow down. So like it's kind of like they're coming to a stop at one point. Scales up really fast and then slower before it dies. As for this over here, I'm just gonna have it like that. So some of the swirls, both sides get scaled together until they're like at 0, but some of them don't scale as much. It adds some randomness to the whole thing. And we're gonna add something else that we haven't used yet, which is rotation over life. We don't want them to rotate like this in like all axes at the same time, so we're gonna click separate axis. We're gonna put 0 in here. We'll use random between two constant. This is like rotation over life, so if I put a number, it will be like 15 degrees. This would be 15 degrees per second. And actually, I just realized that I was using curves because I will make them rotate faster and faster as they're about to die. My number here was 400. My curve was something like this. As for the others, I will just put a value of 0. Don't know why it says 57. Is it really 400? Seems a bit fast. Maybe it's all due to my lifetime 1.5. I'll reduce it to 200. Yeah, and over here in the main section you have flip rotation. If you put 0.5, it means that 50, you can only put something between 0 and 1. If I try to put 5, it disappears. It means that 50%, 0.5 of all the particles will be spinning in the opposite direction and have uh, a negative value over here, but that doesn't change much. But it for our starting rotation, but it changes in the fact that we have the rotation over life over here. The reason I'm using this over here and I'm not simply saying, well, I want something between 200 and minus 200 is because there's a possibility that like some particles that are in the middle just won't have any rotation at all. So I put it to something like this, and then I say that there's a chance that they might rotate the other way around. This means that all of them have a rotation between this number and that number, but it could be negative. But no one has a rotation of 0 over life. And over here in the renderer module in flip, you can input 0.5 over here. It's the same thing we just did here, but now 0.5, 50% of our particles spawn with the scale inversed. Kind of like a mirror image of the regular one, if you like. So now, if we just click restart, it's already looking kind of cool, right? Not so bad. We're gonna change something in our material. You can just click here, go here, or actually, well, I like to do it this way, but also if you scroll down, you have your material down there that you can just easily access and edit, but yeah, you can do it from here. We're gonna be using the Fresnel. Now, I've just moved it up to 1. You probably noticed that something looks a bit smoother. Oh, and cull put it to off. There we go. What culling does is that basically the back face of a mesh is culled. It means that we don't see it. I could say cull front, and now if I go here, well, actually I'm not editing this actual wall, but basically you can swap between saying the front is transparent, the front is what we see and we don't see the back, and vice versa. And you can also make it so that we see both sides all the time, which is what we need with this over here. And Fresnel, what Fresnel does is the more that a mesh is facing the camera, actually, alright, you see this cross section over there? The more that geometry, what's going on? Something's weird. Am I? Render alignment is set to view, of course. Local. There we go. Well, that makes sense. No wonder everything looked kind of weird to me. Alright. So, as you can see, if we look at this one over here, you can easily see like the cross section between the two geometries. And if I get to that one angle, there we go, we see this line that is almost just 1 pixel wide, which is ugly too, and it's also very opaque because the transparency of the entire mesh is kind of squeezed in that 1 pixel. Fresnel, what a Fresnel effect does, or maybe it's called Fresnel, I'm not sure. My teacher used to call it Fresnel. What it does is that the more that geometry is perpendicular to your view, the more transparent it becomes. So when I enable Fresnel and I put it to 1, as you can see, that little dirty edge just disappears. It makes the whole effect look much more smooth. Now it's time to do a bit of complicated stuff. Maybe you won't understand what I'm doing, which is fine. You'll get what it is over time. But I'm gonna explain it as much as I can, as best as I can. We're gonna be using vertex streams, custom vertex streams. What those things are is basically the shader is a bunch of instructions that you send to the material. And for some of those instructions, we're gonna need some data that comes from the particle system that would otherwise not be accessible. So we're gonna check this box over here. Position, normal, color, UV, blah blah blah. This is all the default stuff, we'll leave it there. We're gonna add UV2. Some of these things that we're adding we're not gonna use, but it's important that we add everything that I'm mentioning and in the same order, because they all have these coordinates over here, and these coordinates are the most important thing about it. Those coordinates are what the shader is looking for. So if we mix them up, the shader might confuse our color with our position for some reason. For example, wait, what was the order? Like this. Okay. Yeah. As you can see, it didn't change anything there. I was just saying this as an explanation, but some things that we might use. I've got, wait, not anim frame, but anim blend, stable random. Sorry, I'm kind of yeah, I need to think right now. Stable random. Okay. Random stable. Okay. So as you can guess, this is a random value, and it's important for it to have this coordinate over here of textcord1.y. This is because in my shader I added something custom where I'm saying this value could be random. I want the particle system to think of a random number and send it to the material. And what it actually does, it should be working already. What it does is that it adds randomness to our tiling and offset over here, but it doesn't seem to be working. Ah, yeah, that's why. In the material, I did add something here called random stable strength X. I'll stop the speed for now so you can see it better. Alright, right now every swirl has the exact same material, and as you can see, like towards the tip over here on the right, or on the left, depending on if the mesh was flipped or not, like the texture is over here at this very moment. And the randomness, what it does is that it adds an offset of that texture. The offset is different on every swirl. So now when you look at the effect, they're never like perfectly sync. I'll just show it to you again so you can have a demonstration. That little light, that little brighter spot over here. Now for some of them the brighter spot is further along somewhere else. And I guess I could also enable random stable for my Y. Alright, let's put our values again. We had 0.1 and 0.2, right? Yeah, that's what we had, I think. Alright, so this is the randomness. There's other stuff I was using. Well, I don't think we're using it for this one, but we need velocity. This is for something later. I think it's not even for this effect, it's for the next effect that we're gonna do after this one. I was working on the shader while working on 2 different lessons from Chrono Cross. And then we need custom X and Y down here, and this is super important. We're gonna use this right now. Custom is basically, like random is pretty much the particle system just saying whatever it wants to the shader. It finds a random number, it sends it to the shader, and then that's it. But the custom, what it allows me to do is to add a custom data over here. We have a vector 2. We have point x and y. So we're gonna go here and we're gonna say vector 2. And what I've set it to do is to control our mask, this over here. We're using a speed over here because we want constant movement, but we're going to use a custom to move this texture progressively, because we want to make sure that every time a new particle spawns, it's on one side, and when it dies, it's on the other side. If it was infinitely scrolling, it wouldn't necessarily be on sync with when the particle appears. And to demonstrate this, I'll just change this to repeat. I'll show you what this setting is for in a second. But basically, if I go in my material and I give it a speed here, as you can see, always on sync and completely unrelated to the particle itself. So now what we can do with this texture is actually I won't change the texture setting right away. I'll just go back and I'll just go here, and I'm gonna give myself a curve over here. I'm just gonna go straight for the right material values. Hold on, that I have in my already working effect, so that we can skip on the let's try this, let's try that, it doesn't work, blah blah blah. Some tutorials are like this, they annoy me. I'll just get to the point. Okay, and our curve needs to be from 3 to a value of, let me go back here, to a value of 1, which is over here. Alright, now as you can see, as I move forward, and the way I'm doing this right now, you can press pause on your effect, and you can just scroll back and forth to kind of like control it like you would control a video. So as you can see, the texture is scrolling through the mesh over there, and it's repeating itself. We don't want it to be repeated, so that's what the texture setting that we had here is all about. Wrap mode repeat. We're gonna set it to clamp and click apply. So now that it's set to clamp, once the texture has gone through and scrolled all the way to the left, all we're gonna be left is with some black pixels, meaning that it will progressively mask our geometry. There we go. Now we've got these smooth ribbons. But it's not quite exactly like what I would like it to look like. I'm just gonna tweak a couple of settings. Our emission, I'm gonna say I want a burst of 2 as soon as the effect starts. I want the effect to last for 2 seconds maximum, no looping, so that it fits with what we have down there. 10 of them is a lot. I'm gonna put this to 3. Now we have a lot fewer swirls, which is different from the one I have here, and the reason for that is because I've created some smaller swirls to make it look like they're coming from his body actually. So we're just gonna duplicate this. Energy swirls, small. And then we're gonna give it a shape of a cylinder, which means we have to select a cone. This is really annoying actually, having to use a cone to make a cylinder. Why can't they just make a cylinder? Anyway, just a little rant. And this is swirl. Hold on, I'm just gonna copy my settings from the other side from my other project. I have a radius of 0.3. I want those swirls to be smaller. 0.4, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.4, 0.4. And as for the emission rate, I'm going to set this to 5. I want to isolate the view actually. And yeah, if I don't want to see the outline of the shape, I just have to close the tab. Alright, and if we had a character to put in there, I'll just put a cube. Cube will be our character. And maybe 0.3, 0.3 like this. Alright, this is Serge from Chrono Cross. Can't you tell? Looks better with a character on it. But anyway, even without the character in there, still looks good. Yeah, let's go over this one quickly. Effect, particle system, just call it tube. Let me just check on the other side. Alright, this allows us to save time. So the mesh that we use is charge tube. Put this here. We're gonna create another material. We'll just duplicate our energy swirl. Charge tube 01. Put this here. Like this. Alright. And we're gonna change some of the textures. We're gonna be using this one, but twice. And now let's just click start. Okay, so this is what we get. I don't want any shape. I just want to spawn a single one. No speed, lifetime 3 seconds like the other stuff. Yeah. And then we can just go here. This is just to sort of complement the swirls that we have, to say that we have energy swirling around the character. We're gonna change the speed to maybe minus 0.2. We're gonna put a speed on this one too, minus 0.1. And 0.5 there. Gonna put an offset here. Minus 0.5 actually, make it go faster up. Minus 0.5 here as well. Alright. Our Fresnel power. The more that we raise this value, the more that the edge kind of disappears. Yeah, if I say no Fresnel, as you can see, you can clearly see where the edge of the cylinder stops. But if I use Fresnel, and I need some Fresnel power of this. Now, as the geometry is facing away from the cam, it's becoming more transparent. And I'm gonna set this to 2 to make it more subtle, even more. Alright, this is looking good. Maybe I could make that tube smaller. I think it was smaller in the other project. Yeah, 3D start size 0.75, 1 and 0.75. And then we just need to give it a color overlay with this. Copy, color overlay, paste. You know what? I'll add something else. I'll add a size overlay that will start. Yeah, this first one over here sets the value to a flat one, and yeah, it will just be rising up in Y. Oh, but this is very slow. Yeah, maybe more like this. Okay, yeah, this is ugly. Definitely ugly. Hold on. floor like that. Flat, flat. There we go. Ah, you know what? No size over life. I'll just make the fade in a bit slower. Or wait, because what's happening is like those swirls, they don't have time to be fully grown before this is all there. I'm just gonna put a delay on this, and whatever delay I put, I subtract it from its lifetime. Why is it so ugly? Ah, this is much better now. All right. Let's actually have fun with this material. This is one. As you can see, if I put it to 0.5, you can see the seam where it doesn't connect anymore, the texture, because the texture tiles from left to right and top to bottom. But if I'm just displaying 0.5, the right side doesn't correspond to the left side anymore. So we can only go with like integers, like 0, 1. What would 0 be? Oh yeah, it does that kind of circle effect. 1, but actually, yeah, 0.2. This is what I want to change. This is cool. It looks like it's kind of rotating from left to right, but it should only be moving up. I don't know if it's an optical illusion or if I did something wrong in the shader which causes this to happen. Yeah, still, I'm happy with the result. Maybe I can just make the yeah, I'll make the whole thing a bit more transparent, like this. Yeah, there we go. Charging an element. Actually, did we ever change the energy bubble emission rate? Oh, we did say that we wanted 7 at the start. Maybe we want more of them over time. 15. Yeah, at this point I'm just being finicky. You on your side, you can do whatever you want with this. So anyway, once you have this done, in Photon Beam over here, you know what, we haven't saved a single time. Let's just click save. That would be very important. Yeah. So yeah, in our Photon Beam folder over there, let's create a new folder and call it particles. And in that folder, we're gonna select our parent over here and drag it down here. And now, as you can see, this has become blue. It means it became a prefab. What a prefab is that it's an object. The object can be made out of many things. In our case, it's a particle system. That it's an object that is now referencing what we have in the project here, meaning that we have one here, but from now on we can just get this one and drag it somewhere else, grab another one here, grab another one there. We created an object of its own, and that would be our charge up object, element charge. That will be it for today's lesson. It's yeah, just that part of the effect took quite a while. I mean, it's a lot of stuff to do. It's a lot of work, obviously. And in the next part, we're actually gonna start working on the photon beam itself. Well, maybe not the beam, but at least the start of the effect or something. I'll just show you guys over here. We have the hand charge. This is the second step of the effect. It charges in the end. I also added those swirly things. I thought it would be cooler. Those are not in the original video, in the original game. And then we'll have the beam itself. Yeah, You know what? I'll just wing it. Next time we'll start by working on the hand charge, and depending on the duration, I'll maybe do the photon beam in another part afterwards. Alright, so that's it for today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be available, I'll be checking the comments for any questions, and if you have any feedback, don't hesitate. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.